From 15th to 21st of May 2026, the Teatro dell'Opera di Roma presented a Henze-Cuba Fest to mark the centenary of Hans Werner Henze. Michael Kerstan, chairman of the Hans Werner Henze Foundation, staged the composer's Cuban works El Cimarrón and La Piccola Cubana at the Teatro Nazionale. The author of both original texts is the Cuban ethnologist Miguel Barnet. The Hans Werner Henze Foundation, the journalist Carmen Oria Valdés, and the Cuban ambassador in Rome, Jorge Luis Cepero Aguila, made it possible to bring the 86-year-old Miguel Barnet from Havana to Rome so he could enjoy the celebrations. On this occasion, Kerstan conducted the following exclusive interview with the international doyen of ethnobiographical research.
Dear Maestro Barnet, I'm very happy that you did this long and arduous journey from Havana to Rome to see our productions of La Piccola Cubana and El Cimarrón. How did you like the show last night?
Last night I was very moved, and it was an emotional occasion because to be able to be alive and to be able to commemorate or celebrate the centennial of Hans is something very important. It's a unique situation, you know, because I am used to meet and to interview and to talk to people on their 100 years, you know, because Cimarrón, when I met him, I was only 23 years old and he was 103. But to have friends and good friends and intimate friends like Hans Werner Henze and to celebrate his centennial is incredible, you know. It's something that doesn't happen twice. Mm-hmm. It's a very important event. Because not only as a musician, but as a person, I like him very much, I admire him very much. We were very much acquainted. We had many events together, personal events, social events. I came to Marino in the 1980s, I think it was 1981 or 82, and I spent some weeks there in Marino where he lived in his beautiful house while he was working on the fields. I used to help him in the fields. And I admire him so much because although we had a very bohemian life during those days, because both he and I were very young. I was younger, a little younger than him. But in the morning, I had to wait 1 or 2 hours to be able to, and on the first day, to be able to have breakfast because he was always working. He woke up very early to work, to compose. He spent the whole day composing and said, please, Hans, stop, let's go out. Rome is Rome. Rome is waiting for us.
Oh, yes.
So it was a great event. And to see you and to meet with you was very emotional because I was aware that you were also very touched with my presence here. And
oh yes,
so.
Because when I was a student, like in the late 70s, a student of social sciences, we all appreciated your approach of testimonial novel. And I read El Cimarrón, your book, long before I met Hans Werner Henze. And when his piece came out...
You read it in German?
In German, yes.
Yes, because it has two translations and many editions in Surkamp, like 5 or 6 editions.
Yeah, only in Germany, but it was translated in like 12 or 15 languages. Yes. So it's, yeah. And when I first saw the production of El Cimarrón, in 1974, I was really shocked and overwhelmed, and I'm so happy now that I can see you in person and so on.
It's an overwhelming production, an overwhelming and very stunning performance because it brought out all the internal events, emotional events of a man who lived being a slave, coming from his parents is coming from Africa, and Hans was very touched when he read the book, because he didn't really understand how I could have grasped all that knowledge, of that man. Mm-hmm. So I said to him, okay, let's go and visit Cimarrón, and we went to visit him. Mm-hmm. At the veterans house. Mm-hmm. I won't never forget that day when I took him to see and to meet Esteban Montejo.
But how did you manage to meet this Cimarrón, this Esteban Montejo? How did you find him?
Well, I didn't find him. He was there waiting for me.
Was he famous, or was he well known, or?
No, he was not known. He was a person in very, very solitude, lonely, alone, and he was living in the veterans' house because he also fought in the war against Spain.
In the late 19th century.
In the late 1895. Yeah. He fought in that war, 1895 to 1898. He was a warrior, a very good soldier, with under the commandment of Antonio Maceo, who was the leader, the military leader of the revolution against Spain. So I met him just by chance. I was in a bus going to my work. I was studying and working at the Institute of Ethnology and Anthropology in Cuba. So I saw an interview in the newspaper of old men and women who were learning to read and write, because the first great event of the revolution was to learn to create the language, to make people learn how to read and write. Yeah, yes. Yeah. And then he said there that he was a slave, and that he was a maroon, that he was a fugitive slave in the wild, in the wilderness. Mm-hmm. So I immediately went to see him, and he was waiting for me. Incredible. I always think, how come other historians, other anthropologists never went to that foundation, to that source, mm-hmm. Because he was a very powerful man with a great story, and well, I was lucky to go and meet with him, and he was also lucky to meet me, because we created a very strong and close relationship. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's go back to 1969. So Hans arrived in Havana in March '69, and in his autobiography he writes that he just took a directory of phone numbers and called your number. Yes. And then you met in the lobby of the Hotel Riviera.
I forgot where I met him for the first time, but I think we met through, well, it's true what he says is right, but I already knew the existence of Henze, mm-hmm. through Hans Magnus Enzensberger, because I was a very good friend of Hans Magnus Enzensberger. He is one of the greatest poets of the century, of the last century, of this century. Also, he died a few years ago, yes, no? Yeah. 3 or 4 years ago. And they were very close friends. Mm-hmm. So they both coincided in Cuba. They went to, Hans Magnus went to the university. He gave some lectures in the university, and Henze went just because he was in the left wing, and Cuba is a socialist country, so he was very, very close and very fond of our project, mm-hmm. And he followed us, and I met him perhaps, as he said, in the lobby of that hotel. But as soon as we met, I don't know, it was like a miracle because we immediately were very, very acquainted. We were very friendly. We became friends very, very soon because I realized which were his tastes, his personal tastes that coincided with mine also.
Okay.
So we were very close, and then he read the book. He read some of my books in English and in German. And he read Cimarrón, and he told me one day, he said, I have to write something about the story of this man because it's a unique life. This book cannot be repeated because a man like him who lived such a drastic and terrible and sad life, suffering from malpunishments and suffering slavery, is a unique case, as Graham Greene says. Graham Greene says this is a unique book, as it's unlike that there will be a book like that again. Not because the book is good or bad in terms of literature, but because the story is it's an extraordinary story.
And it's important that the story is living on and not being forgotten. So,
Yes.
And for Hans, at this time, he had his last opera with the Bassaritz, was a huge opera with a big orchestra and a big cast and chorus and everything. And then the next piece was at Cimarrón with only one singer. So also to create a new form of music theater was actually caused by the story of Cimarrón. So
he also he makes that confession. He says that when he wrote the book, he had immediately grasped the idea of producing something, music with a singer, with a baritone. And then he chose William Pearson. I never met William Pearson, but I heard the piece, which is in gramophone, in the records. The gramophone is recorded. When he was very enthusiastic, he spent 3 or 4 months writing this music. And he said to me, and he also exposed and confessed this to the press, that changed his idea of composing, because he used to have, he was, as you say, he was used to write operas for different voices, and then this is a unique case. But the idea of the chains and the drums and the guitar and the flute, something that went back to the story, to the spiritual mood of this man. So the piece is extraordinary. It's really very, very special, and it brings up all the feelings of this man, because it goes with the narration. It goes together with the style of life of Esteban.
I want to ask you, you introduced Hans to the painter Manuel Mendive, who was a Yoruba man.
Yes.
And how did he...
I introduced him to many people
because
he was such a character, such a fantastic and a person, and a man with great aims, with great... he needed relations with the Cuban musicians and artists. And I introduced him to Leo Brouwer, to Carlos Fariñas, to Harold Gramache, to the best musicians, and also to Mendive, the painter who paints Yoruba. All his paintings are dealing with the Yoruba fables, the Yoruba stories, He's almost a priest, Mendive. And he was very, very moved when he met Mendive. We went to the studio. Oh, we had a wonderful time together.
And in Cimarrón, there are many instruments from a Yoruba cultus.
Yes, drums, and the chains become a musical instrument.
How do you remember the cultural scene in Havana in 1969 when Hans came there? So was there optimism, was there creativity?
I think that period was very flourishing, was very, very blossom. He was very creative. All these people I have mentioned, they were all in the best mood to create, to improve, to create a new world. The revolution inspired us to do something different from what we had before, because we always had a very strong, and we still have a very strong influence from the United States. Yeah. The good influence, the good music, the jazz and the operas, but also the trash, the bad music also influenced us, And then the revolution contributed to reinforce our identity. And our identity was not superficial, it was very deep, was very profound. And then we went to those roots. It was a very flourishing period.
Yeah, thank you. We set up a little exhibition of posters of 1969 in the foyer of the Teatro Nazionale, so where also our audience can see what really happened in 1969 in Havana.
In 1969, many events took place. One of the events was first the presence in Cuba of Magnus Enzensberger and Hans Werner Henze. That was a very important event for the social and cultural life. But also something that is never mentioned, but I have to mention it. He was very impressed with my poetry because I tried with difficulty, but I tried to translate to him some of my poems. And he loved my poems Errata, Federata.
Federata, which became part of his Sixth Symphony.
Well, his Sixth Symphony was inspired in Federata. And the first performance was in the National Theater. I was there, and it's an unforgettable piece, beautiful piece.
Yes, it is.
It has nothing to do with Cimarrón. It's totally different.
There are also quotations of a Vietnamese freedom song and the anthem of freedom of Mikis Theodorakis.
It was a period where many good influences came together and produced this very, very strong event. Cimarrón, the runaway slave, is not a novel. It's not a testimonial. It's not a journalist testimonial. It's something that I created, which is totally different. It's the fusion of the writer and the character. It's a fusion. So the author is myself, but the author under myself or behind or on the surface is the character, Esteban Montejo. So that melting, situation created what I call the novela testimonio. And well, people say that I am the founder of the novela testimonio. I don't know. I have to say that you have to go back to the Greeks and to the Romans, because many of the wars that took place during the Middle Ages and during the Antique period were also testimonials created by other people, by writers.
The writers did not write about the dead slaves. They wrote about the princes and the generals and the kings and all that.
All princes and queens and the nobility, all those, the high bourgeoisie is already exposed. It's already done. Yeah. So I had to do something different from that, because I was not going to imitate Flaubert or Balzac. Yeah. I had to do something different with the poor people, with the so-called unknown people, people with let's say, they call them with no history, but they have a great history. I think every man has a strong history, and the lifetime of every man deserves to be exposed. And that was my main objective, my main task, to try to expose the life of the people that are unknown in the official history.
Yeah. Do you still remember Amalia Sorg?
Amalia Sorg.
Sorg.
Sorg. She was of Hungarian well, I don't know. I'm sorry to say, I hate to say this, but it's true. She was a music hall queen. Her mother was a Hungarian prostitute that came to Cuba in the early... No, in the 10th, in 1912, 1910.
Oh.
And she was born in Cuba from a German tourist, but she was a Hungarian prostitute. But she gave birth to Amalia Sorg, who became one of the most prominent and well-known music hall queens of the 1920s and 30s. And I wrote the life of La Cubana, as you call it now, La Piccola Cubana. She's not so piccola. She was a big star, beautiful, but with a very, very tragic life, because she tried to hide that her mother was a prostitute. But her mother was a prostitute, but at the same time she was a wonderful mother, because she didn't want her daughter to follow her life, to be like her, and she put her in good schools. She played the piano, she learned to dance, and she became a famous music hall queen. So this is Rachel.
This is Rachel.
I call her Rachel, but her name is Amalia Sorg. You know a lot. You know more than me about that.
Oh, well, I prepared for the productions and for this interview.
Those are my purposes, you know, to try to put on the stage people that are unknown, you know, because that reflects the identity of my country. The pure identity.
So in La Canción de Rachel, are there any other, like, let's say, women of this period involved, or is it a sheer portrait of Amalia Sorg? Or are there other ladies?
No, the other ladies were involved. Some coming from Yucatan, from Mexico, some Cubans, but she was special. She was special.
Okay.
Among the rest of the good stars or music hall stars of that period, she was special, because she was very beautiful. At that time, it was a very baroque period of women with many hair, you know, and ornaments and jewels and earrings and big. I love that.
Glamour, much glamour.
That frivolity, so-called frivolity, which is not frivolity. That frivolity hides a very sad and dramatic background.
Yeah, poverty and also the situation of women at the time. And
women were at that time. This is one of the main objective or aims of my work. At that time, women were managed by men. You know, they were sexual objects. You know, so I tried to explain that these women who were also sexual attractions were great stars, also great artists with great sensibility.
I think also the figure of Rachel is a woman who makes her life without a man. So she manages her own life alone, and all through all these obstructions and political problems and crises, she manages to walk through her life all by herself, which is, I think, shows a great lady of Cuban culture. So, to my opinion,
it shows a great power and a great ambition of becoming something that goes beyond being a sexual object or a prostitute. She became a very strong figure on stage, and she never married. She had many lovers, when after she renounced, after she went to retirement, when she was in her late 40s, she, at that time, her life was under the money that she created. You know, she had a bank account and she created a personal life. She always had love affairs. She was a very lovable person, and she had love affairs with rich men that protected her, you know. And so it's a very interesting case, you know, because it's the case of a woman whose mother was an immigrant, whose father was unknown. Sometimes when in my interviews with her, she said to me, "I think my father was German." Sometimes she said, "Well, probably he was not German, but Austrian. I don't know," because her mother was.
She loved Vienna.
She loved Vienna.
Yeah.
So probably she loved Vienna because, who knows? Maybe her mother spoke to her about her probable father that could be an Austrian or a German, but she loved Vienna. Yes, she went to Vienna.
In your novel, she went to Vienna.
She went to
once,
Vienna in a trip. Yes.
In the piece La Cubana, she goes to a circus. It's called Las Maravillas de Austria, which refers to Vienna, of course.
I'm almost convinced that his father was an Austrian tourist.
Maybe, yes.
Or maybe an Austrian merchant, you know, a businessman. Who knows? Her mother was very good looking. I remember her mother in her 90s, and she had blue eyes like you. You have beautiful eyes. She had beautiful eyes and gray hair, and very powerful woman, you know, very powerful. She didn't know what, she was not sure when I went to visit her visit Amalia for the first time. Her mother was still alive. Her mother died 3 or 4 months after I visited her for the first time. So when I know that I was aware that her mother was very curious about me because I was very young and going.
Oh.
She said, I'm sure she said to herself, "What is this young, good-looking?" At that time, I had hair. Good-looking man with my daughter. My daughter is in her 50s and he's in his 20s. What's going on? What happens there? She never suspected that I was a writer, an anthropologist, trying to grasp and to take the story of his life and put it in words, in a book.
It's fantastic, yeah. In La Cubana, so we see also the old Rachel on the 8th of January 1959. It's the day when actually Fidel Castro enters in Havana. And so the old Rachel reflects your life. Do you remember the 8th of January when Fidel comes?
If I remember that,
Yeah.
I will never forget that.
Okay.
I was 18 years old, but my God, that was an event. It was something very special. When he entered Havana, it's like, like Adriano entering Rome, like Claudio entering Rome, or Constantine, or who knows. He was such a good-looking man, you know. Coming from the wild, from the Sierra Maestra, from the mountains, you know, in that tank, entering Havana to introduce a new life, because we had a very tough and sad dictatorship of Batista. And for us, the coming of the 8th of January 1959 was like a Christmas day, like like Santa Claus entering Cuba.
I don't.
Oh my God, I will never forget that day. But I was very young, I was only 18 years old, and I come from a white family, well, from the bourgeoisie, you know, I come from the bourgeoisie, so all my relatives went to Miami or to Spain, except my father and mother, that they remained in Cuba because I said, I am not going to leave Cuba, so I want you with me. And they remained there, but the rest of my aunts and my cousins, they all went to exile. But my exile was in Cuba. Inside, not exile, inside.
That's what Rachel says in the piece. So nobody takes me out of Cuba. I will always stay here.
Yes.
But instead, the piece La Cubana was first showed in New York, actually. And it was a TV production for Channel 13 in New York. Have you ever seen this TV production of La Cubana?
Never.
I will show you some photographs later.
I never see, because, you know, there's something very sad, because they play my books, and they become theater plays, but the money is in the middle, and sometimes they play my music, my novels, and they don't want to pay, so I don't care. I just want my people to be acquainted with my works. Money is not important for me, although it's necessary.
It's necessary.
Money is not God, but it makes miracles. And thanks to the foundation, I am here commemorating the centennial of my very good friend.
And you traveled to Rostock together.
I traveled to Rostock, and I saw the play, Cimarrón, for the first time in Rostock. But this production was incredible. It was very attractive, very good. I remember William Pearson, a wonderful voice. I think he's not alive, no? William Pearson.
Oh, he died like 3 years ago.
He died 3 years ago. Thanks to you again.
Thanks to you for coming.
And thanks to the lady who wrote to you, Carmen. She had the inspiration and the guts that I didn't have. So I have to appreciate her and her daughter. Her daughter is my friend,
Monica. You would like to talk about Humberto Padilla.
Humberto Padilla is a very good poet, but he wanted to become a Cuban Mayakovsky, and he failed. And he did things that spoiled the life of many writers, you know, because the official leaders in the government thought that every one of us was going to follow him, and that's not true. But he had an ambition. He wanted to be a Mayakovsky, but he's a very good poet. He died some years ago in a very sad place in the United States. I think he was a professor of Spanish in a school, something like that.
Okay.
But that period was very sad for us. It brought many bad and tough and rigid situations for the Cuban people, you know, especially for the Cuban artists. But Hans didn't live that period. Fortunately, he didn't live. But when I came to see him in the 80s, we spoke long about that period, and it was a very tough period of Cuba. That, thank God, we overcome that. Now we have a very open and very inclusive and freedom of creation in my country. All revolutions have these processes. Goes under tough processes and open and close. It's like that, no? Padilla was friendly to Hans also. We went together to drink in the hotels in Padilla's houses, and we were together. But one thing that goes that harms the artist is when the artist thinks that he's better, he's superior than the rest of the people, you know? When he thinks that he has more vision, more possibilities, and more talents than the rest, and that's a mistake, no? That's a mistake. And then that's poisoned the soul of people. But fortunately, Hans is there, he's listening to us, and he will never forget Cuba. Cuba will never forget him.
He talked so much about Cuba, he talked so much about you,
Yes,
about your friendship and so on.
I wrote long letters to him, but there's one letter that I didn't send to the
Foundation.
No.
Okay.
No, it was just because I was a witness of a love affair that he had for a very strong and very complicated love affair
Rogelio.
with Rogelio, yes. And I have that letter that he wrote to me when he broke with Rogelio.
Okay.
He broke with Rogelio because Rogelio didn't want to leave the country. And he didn't understand that. And Rogelio was a man who, afterwards he married, he has children, he didn't want to leave the country. And the man wanted to bring him to Europe, to Rome, to Marino. He said, no, not Marino, no. But that letter is hidden in my treasure box.
Okay.
Someday I might send it to you. Someday I
I'm
might
rather
send it to you.
curious,
A copy.
I'm going to publish his Cuban diaries now. So, and Rogelio is a person who is always present there. And so I wonder who is, because I did Google and I did look for photographs, but I couldn't find out.
Oh, a very good looking man. He is a tall man, black, but very, very good looking. Any woman, any man could fall in love with it. Okay. I introduced him to Hans. I said, Hans, this is a friend of mine. Would you like to meet him? He said, yes, of course.
Oh my God.
Yes, of course. Oh my God. That makes me happy to think about that. Oh, I'm sorry that I was shocked because Hans meant a lot to me. Meant a lot. Hans and Magnus also, both. I am very close to some German authors, you know. And Germany is a country that I love very much because they are difficult. They are very different from us, Latins, we Cubans and Italians, but they are very, very faithful friends. Once you establish a friendship with a German person, a woman or a man, it's going to be a permanent, long friendship.
So, Maestro, thank you very, very much for this talk.